Welcome. You're right where you belong. Eugenia and I have been friends for 28 years, and while life phases and stages, racking up titles and all the etceteras in life keep us busy, we are intentional about keeping each other centered and committed, and to picking up right where we left off. After all, it's our life support.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Life Support. Today we are throwing it back, way back, to the decade of dial-up, Dunkaroos, and Doug.
That's right. In today's episode, we're discussing how the 90s shaped our parenting. If you're a parent who grew up with Saturday morning cartoons, AOL chat rooms, and no seatbelts in the back of your mom's minivan, welcome. You're not alone. We were raised in a time that was totally different than our kids are experiencing today. Is how we were raised heavily shaping the way we're raising them? Let's dive into it. Firstly, Eugenia, what was a can't miss cartoon and coming of age sitcom for you?
Oh my goodness, there were so many. So I'm gonna just give you a quick few, okay? So for cartoons, there were a few that I used to love to watch. DuckTales was one, Darkwing Duck, Rugrats, and I used to watch Doug as well, as far as the cartoons. And then coming of age sitcoms, I had to tune into Moesha. That was the show back then. And then I was also like a Nickelodeon girly. So I used to watch Clarissa Explains It All. And then I also used to watch Saved by the Bell, Sister Sister, and then another fave of mine on Nickelodeon, which really wasn't like a coming of age sitcom, but I used to love to watch it. It was called Are You Afraid of the Dark? So those are just a few of mine that I used to watch. What about you?
I feel like I shouldn't even repeat it because it was exactly the same. I
No way.
actually started watching Moesha with Bailey recently, and it took all of this time for me to realize I don't know if she was the best friend. Like watching all of the episodes back, like I was always on her side, but now I feel
Yeah.
like there's some things in there. Yeah, but I watched Moesha. I loved Sister Sister, especially when they did the hair episode and one's hair was straight and one's was curly, and it was a
Mhm.
whole situation with that. That was one of my favorite episodes. I used to love to watch all that also
Oh,
because I loved like the skits and improv.
yeah.
As a kid, I did love DuckTales. I did love Rugrats. I was kind of like hit and miss with what was the name of the show? Hey Arnold.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Mm.
And I really wanted to watch Ren and Stimpy, but that wasn't allowed in our house.
Oh, okay. Ren and Stimpy.
So
Yeah.
add those to everything that you said, and I'm like right there with you.
Okay. I'm with you too. Those are a few that I left out as well. So, yay.
Yes.
Okay. So, let's start by taking a quick look at what the 90s were like for us as kids. So, we had number one, limited screen time. But not because our parents planned it. It's just that there wasn't much to do on a screen, right? We also went outside a lot. Um, and we were alone when we went outside usually, or with, a few friends or whatever. Remember riding bikes until the street lights came on?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Those were the days. So stranger danger was real, but helicopter parenting wasn't quite here yet. So I totally agree with that. We did get spanked. We got grounded. We had to rewind our VHS tapes before taking them back to Blockbuster. Or you would get that late fee. Okay. And our
Oh,
parents were not
yes.
late fee.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we had to entertain ourselves a lot, whether it was building forts or talking to imaginary friends or doodling on the back of a cereal box. I remember pretending I was like a teacher and I would have my stuffed animals be the students. So I remember doing that a lot as a kid. So yeah.
And I feel like that's great, right? For
Mhm.
imagination. Look, your stuffed animals were like, we were not here for this every single weekend morning.
Yeah.
Parenting just looked very different. In many households, kids were seen more than heard. There wasn't a lot of gentle parenting or
Mhm.
emotional validation. But what that did do, good or bad, was influence the way we now raise our own kids. Let's talk about how all of that affects us today. We're parenting in the age of constant connectivity, gentle parenting, emotional intelligence, Montessori toys, and let's be honest, 1,000 pieces of parenting advice. But here's the twist. While we're modern parents, many of us bring those 90s values with us. I
Mhm.
know the toys have always been very important for me with the children, because I'm trying to get a twofer out of it. I want them to learn, but I also want them to have fun. I feel
Mhm.
like when I was younger, toys were just let's have fun and stay out of my hair. Keep you busy. When it was time to learn, that was completely separate
Mhm.
than having fun. So I think the marrying of the two is a change, but I think it's a great change. I definitely think that the gentle parenting is a change, but I don't know that that in particular is the best change because I feel like we need to have a balance between understanding consequences as well as validating feelings
Mhm.
and preparing you for adult life. I feel like gentle parenting is not really set up for adulting, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Right.
So maybe you can weigh in on that. What do you feel about gentle parenting?
Um,
And what do you qualify? Like, what do you define as gentle parenting?
um, I define gentle parenting maybe as like instead of just like going off the rails right off, maybe trying to talk to your kid, like if they're doing something wrong, hey, stop it, don't do that. Maybe explaining to them why they shouldn't do it versus just, no, don't, yelling or screaming or maybe acting more out of emotion in order to discipline your child. I think gentle parenting also, it kind of goes hand in hand in a sense with like emotional intelligence as well. Like tapping into your child's feelings first in a sense or trying to reach them in a different way versus just anger. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes. Yes.
I mean that's what I would define as gentle parenting. However, I think that's great, but I think there's a time and a place, and I don't believe in just only gentle parenting.
Okay. So, by your standards, I guess I'm a gentle parent. I
Okay.
didn't feel like I was a gentle parent until you explained your version of
Mhm.
gentle parenting. So, I guess in that reference, that is gentle parenting, and I am a part of that.
I mean, I am too. I am too.
Yeah, yeah. I think in my mind, when I read the line of gentle parenting or I'm watching a video about gentle parenting, it's like children running a tractor trailer over their parents. Like the parents are just letting anything fly, anything be okay. And, well, Timmy, do you feel like listening to what I'm saying? And so for me, it's like, we're not really running
Yeah,
that
no.
ship.
I think there's
But
different of gentle parenting.
yes, well, I subscribe to your version of gentle parenting all day.
Yeah.
The emotional connectivity is so important and it matters in their development as well as how they evolve as humans and how they show up in the world. So I definitely think that that part, of gentle parenting is super important
Right.
and not being quick to anger and really helping them to understand, as we've discussed in a previous episode, but helping them to, understand so that they can process.
Right. So, like you were saying earlier, while we are modern parents, we do try to bring those 90s values with us. When it comes to independence, right? We want our kids to be safe, yes, but also independent. We know what it felt like to solve problems on our own, and we want that for our kids without the danger of riding their bikes across town unsupervised. So the key is to give them space to grow like we had in the 90s, but layer it with today's tools for safety and communication. Like I know for me, with my teenager, if he wants to, meet up at the basketball court down the street with some of his friends or something like that, cool. But we have to make sure that we put those safety measures into place. Like, call me when you get there, or, let me know once you meet up with your friends, so I know what's going on, that you met up with them and you're headed to the basketball court or whatever. So I think that's kind of changed a little bit, like as far as the communication and making sure that they're there where they say they are. I mean, I know back then there wasn't like cell phones like that. It was just like the beginning or whatever of that type of technology. So
Mhm.
I think that's what changed on that measure. Um, is there anything that you feel like maybe you've implemented with your children as far as like their independence that might be a little different from how you grew up?
Um, yes, definitely. I feel like now, because there are so many layers to their exposure to the outside world, I feel like it's so many checkpoints that have to be in place that possibly weren't in place before. Now, granted, yes, you did go outside and you probably went to six different people's houses, you're playing in the backyard, you're, doing all these other things, and then you're just home, before the lights come on. Now, I feel like we are creating, which I think is healthy, checks and balances to make sure that you're checking in with me at each step of the day. Not that people still don't show up on milk cartons, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just we do still have some sort of awareness of where you are and what you're doing.
Right.
And that being the focal point in all things and showing them how important accountability is really helping them to live more responsible lives. So
Right.
we definitely do the check-ins, do the calls. um if they're wanting to go somewhere, I need like a business day or two to mull it over, do my research,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that everything is good for where they're going. A lot of people um say that things have changed and things are worse, and I just feel like things are just more in the open. So if anything, I feel like it's a little bit better as far as the opportunities to create safety, because a lot of the same things were happening previously. It's just there was no like awareness, I guess.
Right. We didn't
So
hear or didn't
yeah.
have, it right in our face every day,
Hmm.
So yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. Um,
Yeah. So,
Another thing is that in the 90s, we had limited screen time, right? There weren't all these tablets and, cell phones with internet and all that kind of stuff. We remember how freeing it was to not be glued to a screen. So we're trying with mixed success to help our kids unplug, even though tablets are now practically like pacifiers, right?
mhm.
I try to introduce to my kids more like hands on activities, more arts and crafts, reading actual books, and so on, because I know how important it is to have that hands-on experience when it comes to like doing things as simple as like flipping the pages in a book, creating things with your hands and using your creativity. Like that's very important, and that's something that I remember doing a lot as a child that just helped me in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
um
I think it helps behaviorally also, because
right.
we had to find ways to keep ourselves entertained
Mhm.
and still maintain a certain level of calm a
Right.
lot. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of times children these days, if they don't have a tablet, if they don't have a phone, they're destructive, they're cutting
Mhm.
up, they're running around, they're tearing
Right.
stuff up,
Right.
and a lot of that is because there is a lack of balance and it's just overly done. I think that there is a place for electronics, but there is
Mhm.
always and forever will be a place for creativity,
Mhm.
because that lends to success in your future
Right.
and being able to self soothe. There's a place for that, big time. And so I feel like it creates healthy boundaries. And when we speak on health, additionally, it's also kind of cutting off the outside world to kind of protect them mentally too, and what's
Right.
being fed into them, what they're thinking about, what they're consuming. So I definitely, everything that you said, yes, absolutely.
Right.
A lot of times we try to add in the nostalgia driven play, from
Mhm.
Tamagotchis to board games to the re release of Lisa Frank notebooks, girl.
Oh my God. I loved Lisa Frank.
I got Gabrielle a mega coloring book, and I probably was more excited than she was.
Right.
And I was like, I got you a Lisa Frank. And it was like a 16 by 24, like one of those big,
Mhm.
huge coloring books. And she was kind of looking like, "Mm." But then when she got into it, she loved it because there's so many intricate lines. She's able to add so much color, to the
Mhm.
picture as opposed to it just
Mhm.
being a frog and that's it,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
page. And so she enjoyed that. So, we're seeing a boom also in 90s inspired parenting tools. And it's
Mm.
not just cute, it's intentional, which I love.
Right.
We want to give our kids the magic that we had that's infused with modern day parenting,
Right.
and in that, it's also important to focus on breaking generational patterns. Many
Mhm.
of us are consciously unlearning things. Maybe we didn't have our emotions validated as a kid, but now we're trying to make sure our children know that it's okay to feel what they feel. Often want to give our kids what we never had, but sometimes what we really need to give them is what we did have, but in a better, healthier way.
Mhm.
Breaking generational patterns doesn't mean blaming our parents, it means acknowledging that survival isn't the same as thriving. And that was big for me. Many of us were raised with silence instead of emotional support, discipline instead of dialogue, and fear instead of boundaries. We now
Mhm.
have the courage, the resources, and the emotional awareness our parents didn't. That means we can choose empathy over control, curiosity over criticism, and connection over compliance. It's
Mhm.
hard, it is very exhausting. It often feels like trying to rewire a house while living in it. But every
Mhm.
time we apologize to our children, every time we validate their feelings, every time we pause instead of punish, we're not just parenting, we are actually healing. And that
Mhm.
echoes forward.
Definitely. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're parenting in a way that honors the good parts of the 90s while also evolving beyond its limitations. And personally, I know for me, I carry that mix of nostalgia and progress. I want my kids to have the freedom I had, but also know that they have emotional support. For so many of us who grew up in the 90s, both parents worked full time. Our parents loved us and showed up for us in ways that they could, providing, encouraging, and offering the kind of emotional support they knew how to give. And I truly believe that I received that love and support growing up. Now, as I raise my own kids, I'm simply trying to expand on that foundation. I want to take what my parents gave me and add even more presence, more listening, and more intentional emotional connection. not because they didn't give enough, but because each generation has the chance to grow and give in new ways.
Us as parents, we've been on both sides of the spectrum and we actually see the benefits. We see the beauty that our parents created and
Mhm.
where they started. And it's like being empowered to grab the baton and run
Mhm.
forward, but more intensely in the things that we know are going to make a positive difference in our children. I love it. And it's just beautiful. We're not perfect parents, but we're doing something powerful. We're bridging two generations and trying to keep the best of both. Thanks for joining us for Life Support. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with your fellow 90s babies turned parents. Until next time, keep doing your best. Bye.
Bye.
If this episode inspired you, we'd love to hear your biggest takeaway. Slide into our DMs on Instagram at @thelifesupport_.
If you haven't yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a Power Hour pep talk. And leave a comment. It helps other mamas find us and transforms one mom's hustle into all of our community boosts.